the connection between solar activity, volcanic eruptions and earthquakes, weather, and cycles on Earth. Yes, there is a connection. I'm not going to read the article concerning what Soho has. I'll leave you a link. But the cosmic influence on the Sun-Earth environment having to do directly with earthquakes. I'll read a little bit of the conclusion because it's a very long article. They have seismic graphs and plots here going back all the way to a starburst year going back to 1885. And this particular one is 15 starbursts going from 1885 to 1989. But there is a conclusion. It says, it is concluded that starburst influences variables of the Sun-Earth environment, which in turn leads to climate change, including snowfall. Sudden changes in these variables, proton flux, efflux, influence Earth abruptly. The flux is responsible for global warming, and efflux lowering may lead to snowfall. On December 22nd, 2004 and 23rd of February 2005, sudden fall in electron flux and KP indices recorded by SOHO satellites. Widespread snowfall was recorded in the United Kingdom and other parts of the world on December 25th, 2005, and further on February 23rd, 2005. I believe that was a mistake, 2004, February 23rd, 2005. Further, the rise of efflux leads to normalize the condition. The influx of the starburst might have influenced the efflux and thus leading to snowfall. Starburst meaning, of course, a solar flare coming out of the sun. The efflux and thus leading to snowfall December 25th, 2004 and 22nd, 23rd February 2005. The cosmic influence on the sun is so intense that until March of 2005, the number of sunspots was far fewer, and the efflux, as well as KP indices, was also very low. This might be the possible reason for this year's extended snowfall and cold wave. We see that happening now, don't we? Because of the lack of sunspots. The number of sunspots was far fewer, and that's what we see now. Fewer sunspots and cold weather. Extreme snow, rain, tornadoes, not only in the United States, but in India and Europe, other parts of the world, flooding. And this might be possible reason for this year's extended snowfall and cold wave. The influence of star on the Sun-Earth environment is being reported theoretically first time. Regular monitoring of sunburst and its influence on Sun-Earth environment may lead to more accurate and environmental predictions. And of course, as we see, this is a recent finding and it's conclusive. So anybody that comes and tells you that the solar flares or lack of solar flares have nothing to do with weather, you please tell them that that's not so. The lack of solar flares bring severe cold, snowfall, rainfall, storms, inclement weather all around. So that's from SOHO. I'll leave it, that's NCBI, PMC, U.S. National Library of Medine, National Institute of Health, and it's the SOHO abstract. Now let's go to this one here, the connection between solar activity, volcanic eruptions and earthquakes, the weather and cycles on Earth. So again, what do you believe? After what we read, the SOHO abstract, of course we're going to have inclement weather and a lot more of this for the next 11 years. This is again is on HeartMath. They're based on research findings. We see that even our thoughts and our frequencies have to do with the solar flares and Earth events. That's amazing. I mean, that's just amazing. So please, everybody, just feel love for the whole of humanity. We're all sinners. We're all, we make 1,000 mistakes every day, obviously. But we can ask our Lord God to forgive us, and He will, and to guide us into His heart, and for Him to be in our heart always. and to love even our enemies. I mean, that's how we can be identified as Christians, as Christ's followers. You know, it's a very hard thing to do. That's the hardest thing possible, to forgive your enemies. I remember in our church, after, you know, in the reading room, when we have our coffees and we talk sometimes, and we open up a little bit to each other like brothers and sisters. And, you know, this one woman says how much she loves God and how she relies on everything for him. But she cannot forgive her enemies. And I said, well, wait, you know, if you go back to the Lord's Prayer, you will not get into paradise or heaven if you don't forgive as God forgives. You know, forgive us our trespasses and we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So if you don't forgive, it's up to you. You want to get into heaven? You have to forgive. That's it. Just let go. Just let go and let our Lord Jesus Christ do the driving. That's it. So we have to be, what's the word? Ipakoi. We have to be obedient to Christ's law. That's the hardest thing to be obedient to. But anyway, we saw that our emotions influence the sun. I'm going to try and find a link. I'll do another video on that, having to do with something that happened in 2004, by the way. That's amazing, because the 2004 sun event had to do with what we saw before with the solar flares. But there was a solar flare that knocked out something that was coming towards Earth and would have impacted us. It was huge. It was huge. And I think it was a video by Nassim Haramein. He showed it. It was a Soho image. Something coming towards Earth, and at the moment it was coming towards us, there was a solar flare that came out of the sun and knocked that object off its trajectory so it did not hit the Earth. And Nassim Haramein said, what did the sun just do there? Does the sun have feelings? Does the sun see what's coming at us at little Earth and protect us? How is that possible? And he said, you know, we would have been dead a long time ago if the sun didn't do that. Namely, I think it was February 2004. So God has given us a chance, obviously. How many times did the sun do that in the past, or will it be doing that in the future? We live in you know, God's divine actions are just mesmerizing. So, our Mother Earth has been very active since the beginning of the new year. It says here, several big earthquakes occurred, starting in Haiti, January 12th, followed by Chile, February 27, China, April 15, Taiwan, March 4th, Turkey, March 8, and many smaller earthquakes that have had a lesser impact on human life, property, and environment. And many wonder if the number of earthquakes is increasing, but scientists say they are not, because becoming more frequent. We have here an earthquake map from 2010, courtesy of USGS. Also, the Icelandic volcano Eyjafjallajökull erupted April 14th, forming a massive cloud of volcanic ash over Europe, and it stopped at the border of northern Greece, thank goodness, and had enormous impact on air traffic, with 27 airports closed for many days. And recent scientific research confirms a connection between high-energy charged particles in the ionosphere and earthquakes. A study conducted in 2008 by Zhen Liu from the Center of Space and Remote Sensing Research in Chengli, Taiwan, examined more than 100 earthquakes within magnitude of 5 or larger in Taiwan for over several decades, and the results indicate that almost all of the quakes down to a 35-kilometer depth were preceded by distinct electrical disturbances in the ionosphere. Isn't that something? It didn't have to do with the Earth's core. It had to do with the Earth's atmosphere, above the Earth. Solar activity is picking up in the current cycle 24, presently May 10. The moderate sunspot 1069 is active. On April 3rd, the largest solar storm of cycle 24, also called the coronal mass ejection, CME, took place, and the solar wind hit Earth Monday, April 5th, 2 days later, and sparked the strongest geomagnetic storm of the year. The event registered a geomagnetic index KP7 on a 0 to 9 scale, so that's pretty big. Luckily, the storm was not strong enough to interfere with power grids and satellites, but it created auroras in the polar region. On May 5th, another solar eruption came from a spotless region near the Earth's southwestern limb, producing a bright coronal mass ejection, CME. It came to an end May 9th. Extreme ultraviolet images from the Solar and Heliographic Observatory, SOHO that is, captured the solar eruption. Now, these are NASA images, of course. Now, as discussed in previous commentaries, the solar activity affects the Earth's magnetic field. Some science is starting to emerge that demonstrates a possible connection between solar activity and Earth events like earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, floods, and storms. Not only is the Earth's magnetic field affected by the solar activity, but so is human health and behavior. Some of the scientific findings are discussed, and we saw that before. The electrical currents from the sun also affect the human body's magnetic field. The environmental scientist Neil Cherry in 2001 reviewed a large number of studies that identified significant physical, biological, and health effects that are associated with changes in solar and geomagnetic activity, the SGMA. He suggested the Schumann resonance, SR. The Schumann resonance frequencies that link solar and geomagnetic activity are what link solar activity to the effects on human health and behavior. The Schumann resonances have ultra-low frequency peaks at 7.8 Hz, 14 Hz, 20, 26, 33, 39, 45, and 51 Hz, which closely overlap with the human brain. And we saw that before in one of our today's previous videos. The Schumann resonance. Everything on Earth is driven by cycles. The circadian rhythm is a cycle every living being on Earth experiences, which is roughly 24-hour daily cycle. Professor Franz Halberg of the University of Minnesota and board member of GCI coined the term circadian and is widely considered the father of chronobiology. Chronobiology is a science that examines cycles of living organisms as well as their adaptation to solar and lunar related rhythms. This is by Patrick et al. In 2003. Solar and moon rhythms. Chrono pertains to time, and biology to living organisms. The 24-hour cycle influences biochemical, physiological, and behavioral processes. The connection between the daily circadian and seasonal cycles and geomagnetic activity. The human body is designed to adapt to daily and seasonal climatic variations. Environmental factors alter the hormone balance of the body, specifically the melatonin-serotonin balance, which affect many physiological functions such as blood pressure, breathing, immune systems, reproductive systems, cardiac and neurological processes. Research by Burke et al. In 1996 and Rappaport et al. 1998 gives evidence that the melatonin levels are reduced during increased solar and geomagnetic activity. In rats, seasonal melatonin levels were correlated with the seasonal variations in the Earth's geomagnetic field. This was found by Barch et al. In 1994. Diseases like cancer, neurological diseases, acute heart disease, and heart attacks are all related to melatonin levels that are too low, as is accelerated aging. In the daily cycle, the blood pressure, heart rate, neurological, and cardiopulmonary and reproductive functions are all affected. Since the fetus has melatonin receptors, an increase in sudden infant death is observed during higher geomagnetic activity. Also, reduced melatonin produces arrhythmic cardiac activity. For example, cardiac activity dropped in rabbits during a magnetic storm. This was found by Chibizov et al. In 1995. In addition, clinical measurements have identified significant changes in blood pressure, blood flow, aggregation and coagulation, cardiac arrhythmia, and heart rate variability during GMA events. All of these conditions are influenced by melatonin levels. EEG pattern, pulse rate, blood pressure, and reaction time were measured in a group of people by Doronin et al. In 1998. The authors noted that the oscillations in the KP index had identical periods in the monitoring EEG alpha rhythm. This confirms that the whole body changes. The whole body changes occur in conjunction with GMA alteration by changing heart and brain patterns. Another study by Pobachenko et al. In 2006 monitored the Schumann resonances of the environment. That's the Earth frequency, as we know. You can see one of my previous videos on Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonances of the environment and the EEG in a frequent range between 6 to 16 Hertz simultaneously. During a daily cycle, individual studies studied showed variations in the EEG similar to changes in the Schumann resonance. So their heart showed the similar changes that the Earth had in the Schumann resonance. Isn't that something? They're totally interconnected. In other words, our rhythm is totally interconnected with our Mother Earth's rhythm. Hence, the biological EEG rhythm is characteristic of the daily rhythm of the Schumann resonance. However, some deviations were observed for some individuals, which can be due to the individual's adaptive ability. Due to the global interconnection between solar and geomagnetic activity, the ionospheric waveguide, Schumann resonances, and the human brain, the EEG and heart, increased solar activity can disturb the biological rhythm of humans and animals and exacerbate existing diseases. Increased solar activity and GMA is also correlated to a significant increase in heart attacks and incidence of death, myocardial infarction incidence, Valoresi et al. Found in 1998, a 30% to 80% increase in hospital admissions for cardiovascular diseases. This was found by Oraszewski et al. In 1998, and cardiovascular death. Neurological effects correlated with GMA. The brain is a very sensitive electromagnetic organ. The Schumann resonances appear to interact with the brain, altering the brain waves and neurohormone responses. Geomagnetic storms are strongly related to human health effects and death even. Altered EEG rhythms and GMA have been observed by Belov et al. In 1998. Strong GMA effects were identified as stressors, while low-frequency magnetic oscillations had a sedative effect. A 10 Hz signal stimulates people, while a 3 Hz signal slows them down. Also, memory and attention were correlated to GMA, Tambiev et al. Found in 1995. Rats were observed to behave more aggressively during GMA events, found by St. Pierre and Persinger in 1998. GMA and war, Persinger found in 1999. Crimes and GMA 1 to 3 days after solar activity. Crimes and GMA increase. Rajaram and Mitra found in 1991 have found a correlation between patients with seizures in Calcutta and GMA, increase in epileptic experiences during increase in GMA, increase in hospitalization for mental disorders, psychiatric admissions and suicide, and increase in depression after geomagnetic storm. A GMA is also a trigger for migraine attacks. Birth rates were observed to drop and mortality to increase during increased solar and GMA. This was found by Zaitseva and Pudovkin in 1995. Cycles related to the solar cycle. Schumann resonances are closely correlated with the solar cycle, which include the daily and semi-weekly and weekly, 13.5 day and 27 to 28 day solar rotations, semi-annual, annual, 11-year, and 22-year cycles. This was found by Kortlesian et al. In 1998. Dmitriev, 1993, found a 7.5 and 11-year cycle in malignant melanoma. Can you imagine? Halberg et al. In 2009 found more cycles being related to the solar cycle. Terrorism, 39-year and about 16 months component, solar wind speed and geomagnetism. 7-day rhythms in heart rate. 1.3-year component in systolic blood pressure and terrorism. 10 months and 5-month rhythms reflected in sudden cardiac death and cardiac arrhythmia. We can change the course of planetary events. While solar cycle 24 is becoming more active, affecting all beings on Earth, we can decide on how to react to these changes. It's important to remember that the increasing solar activity has a positive effect. It's a time when opportunity and creativity can flourish along with increased individual and collective enlightenment. It's an auspicious opportunity for advancing our intelligence on how to cooperate more harmoniously with each other and with Mother Earth. This could eventually lead to a global consciousness transformation and increasing peace. A few effective co-creative actions we can take through these opportune times would include committing to reducing fear, becoming more responsible for our own energy, and increasing love, care, and respect for others and for ourselves. This can do much to restore balance and energetic alignment between Earth and the global community. And she says here, many thanks to all who are caring and holding the vision of humanity in the state of joy, love, peace, and health, and a vision of a vibrant Earth. I would like to end this commentary with a quote by Albert Einstein. Quote, "Our task must be to free ourselves by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty." End quote. This is by Dr. Annette Dayhill, the PhD and CGI research team, and it's on Heart Math. I'll leave links below for you for this. And I'll also try and find that wonderful video with Nassim Haramein showing us how the sun shot out a flare, proper at the exact timing, the exact position to deflect that huge celestial body that was coming careening towards Earth. It would have smashed us to smithereens. So, God bless you. I hope you like this. This is wonderful stuff to know. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.